I put on lipstick for this video, which always kind of makes me feel like the Joker, so you're welcome. Welcome, pumpkins, to the first edition of Stories and Steeps. I decided that I really wanted to do some videos that included two of my favorite things, which are books and tea. So I've created Stories and Steeps, which is going to be a little segment. I don't really know what you would call different videos that you do on your channel, but it's going to be a regular video. So I hopefully will be doing more of these maybe each month or with different themes. You can't really see it, but I have a lot of goodies set up on the table before me. I have a bunch of books and teas that I have chosen to pair with those books. So Stories and Steeps is going to be kind of a combination of a book haul, a summary of what I've been reading, as well as tea pairings for all the books. Tea is one of my absolute favorite things, and reading historically in my life has also been one of my favorite things. I love books, and all growing up I just read voraciously, as I'm sure many people who are watching this video, if you found it through a book related anything, probably can identify with. But then once I got to college and kind of by the time I was done with grad school, I was really burnt out. I'd had to read so much for school that I just kind of didn't feel like reading at all, even for pleasure, as much. This isn't to say that I never read, but I definitely sort of read much less after that, just a book here and there, not every night anymore, or however often I had been reading before. It was much less frequent than that. And that kind of went on for a while. It's been it's been quite a long time since I was in grad school. So recently, I would say around the beginning of the fall, I started watching some YouTube channels that were really book focused. Well, actually, I had been watching Darling Desi's channel for a while. I love her channel so much. And she does quite a bit of book content. I always collected books still, even though I wasn't reading a lot. I just love books, so I have a lot of them and I would always buy them. But I really got back into reading sort of for pleasure a lot through her channel. And then from there, I sort of started discovering some other booktube, is that what it's called? I don't know, like all book content channels. One I really enjoy is Alexandra Roslin's channel. I will post the link to her channel and to Desi's down below, so if you want to check those out, you can. But I would say those two are the biggest factors in me getting back into reading a lot. I would hear about books on their channels that sounded interesting. I would buy the books, and I've started reading a lot more, which I'm really excited about. So in addition to loving books, I also love tea. You might say that I am obsessed with it. I have so much tea, so many different kinds. I drink it every day. I always do a black tea with my little teapot in sort of the first half of the day. I usually do it around 10 or 11 in the morning instead of coffee. I don't drink coffee at all, but I love having my little ritual of I use an actual teapot, and I got this super, super cute tea cozy this fall season from a shop on Etsy, which I will also link down below so you can check that out if you want to. So I always use some cute teapot. I have many. And then also I usually use a fancy teacup, which I also have many of those. And I have all sorts of tea accoutrements. And then in the evening, I usually do more of a mug with some kind of herbal tea before I go to bed. So I drink a lot of tea, many different kinds, pretty much all the kinds. I don't really have any that I don't like. So that's a long way to say that I thought it would be really fun to share all the books I've been reading each month or season or whatever. And then also pick a tea to pair with each one that kind of goes with the vibe of whatever the book is. And I just thought this would be a fun way to bring two of the things I love together and share them with you all. So let's get started because I just talked for a long time. I'm going to show you my little setup here. Okay, so this Stories and Steeps is going to be pretty much all books I read in October. Maybe one of them was more beginning of November, but they are all sort of spooky season books that I would recommend reading in October. I mean, I don't think that you could only read them in October. I certainly think any of these would be great to read anytime, but most of them definitely have that sort of spooky season vibe. I'm actually going to start with the one I read most recently. This is the one that I read end of October, beginning of November. So this one is called The House with Chicken Legs, and it is a story about a little girl whose grandmother is Baba Yaga. And if you know me in real life, you know that I love Baba Yaga. I don't know what it is, but basically anything Baba Yaga related, I will get it. So I was really excited to read this. I believe this is a middle grade book, but to be honest, it wrecked me. I cried a lot during this book. So I would definitely recommend it, but just be ready to feel all the feels. This is sort of a coming of age story. I will say my only thing about this is the girl, who I believe is 12, she makes a lot of mistakes. The sort of thrust of the story is that she is sort of destined to become a Yaga, which the Yagas in this story are people that help guide the spirits through to the other side at the end of their lives. So there are a bunch of different Yaga. Her grandmother is Baba Yaga, and she sort of helps her grandmother do this job of guiding these spirits, but she doesn't really want to. She wants to choose her own path in life. She doesn't want to be obligated to be a Yaga. She wants to have friends and interact with the living, which they're not really allowed to do because being a Yaga, you have to keep it a secret. You can't really have living human friends, and she is lonely and wants to have a different life than what she has. And I get that, and I'm sure pretty much a lot of 12-year-olds feel that way, especially if they are locked in some kind of situation where they feel like they have to go on to do something specific. But she makes a lot of selfish decisions and doesn't learn until the very end of the book, which I feel like maybe she should have learned her lesson after like the first bad decision she made. So I will say that's the only thing about this is I kind of was like, okay, you need to get your shit together. But I did love the Yaga-ness of it, and it was very emotional. I don't know if that was just me, but there's a lot about death and losing loved ones and all of that. So it's a crier. It's also a little bit of like, what are you doing? But she's 12, so I guess you got to give her the benefit of the doubt, I'm sure I made a ton of bad decisions when I was 12. I just probably didn't have the capacity to make as life-crippling of decisions as she has in this book. So yeah, I still recommend it. Also, just let's talk about what the inside looks like. So without the dust jacket, it has the cutest little embossed chicken legs. If you don't know anything about Baba Yaga, basically she is a witch, an elder in like Russian, Ukrainian folklore. I think there's other countries too, but I think Russia especially is kind of the big one. But she has a house that is on chicken legs. So, hence the title, The House with Chicken Legs. She's just a really cool character in folklore, and I am super into her. Okay, so for that book, I have chosen this tea. You can see it even has a little tea kettle with chicken legs on it, which was only one of the reasons I chose it. That's on the label, but it is called Hedge Witch, and a lot of my teas are from the same small businesses / tea makers. I buy a lot of my tea from the same 4 or 5 people. So you're going to see a lot of the same makers and brands on these videos, but I do highly recommend those people. And if I want to do more of these, I'll probably start buying a lot more tea from other places. Not that I need it because I already have so many teas, but that will just give me an excuse to buy even more tea. So Hedge Witch is the one that I recommend for this book. So this is it used to be called Altar and Leaf, but now it's the Wild Soma is the maker. It's just one woman who is amazing and makes amazing tea and other products. And I will link her shop and Instagram below. This is described as an earthy herbal brew with bewitching charm and tart sass. So I thought, it's called Hedge Witch, so you got that going for it. And then it's kind of got that sassiness that the main character has, but also kind of a lot of the flavors that I associate with Witch Hut with chicken legs. I don't know. So it has blackberry leaf, hibiscus, elderberries, rose hips, cinnamon, ginger root, orange bits, a little magic, and a lot of love is what it says. She always puts that. I think that's so cute. It is a caffeine-free herbal blend, and just all of those flavors, the cinnamon, ginger, and orange especially, I think kind of are very fallish, but also I think they just go really well with this story. So I recommend that. So her shop, she does do sort of seasonal releases. So her shop's not just open all the time. She just did one, and I think she's going to be closed for kind of the rest of the winter holiday season. But I highly recommend signing up for her newsletter, and then you'll know when she reopens and puts out new products and all of that. So, okay, next is Help the Witch by Tom Cox. It's kind of hard to describe. It is short stories. I feel like it's always kind of nice to have a short story book in the wings because it's low pressure. You can, I just want to read one story for a few minutes, or I just have, X amount of time. I will say I really, really liked this book. All of the stories, I probably won't be sharing any books that I didn't like. All the stories were very atmospheric, a little eerie, not scary. I would say this is definitely not a scary read. It's like, I don't even know not even spooky. I think eerie is kind of the right word. There's a couple sort of ghost ones. And so my neighbors own a car detailing business, which they run out of their house, which is fine. People come, bring their cars, and then they detail them. And then, but it means that they have a lot of loud machines and things, and there's always cars coming and going, which for normal life is fine. Like, it doesn't bother me, but I just feel like filming a video is hard because they're always just making a bunch of noise over there. So I apologize if you're hearing a lot of rumbling and things in the background. It can't be helped if I want to get this video done today. And they have one car that has a really loud muffler. Anyway, back to this. Help the Witch. It was having a hard time even describing. Let me just read the back, I guess. As night draws through country lanes and darkness sweeps across hills and hedgerows, shadows appear where figures are not. Things do not remain in their places. A new home is punctured by abandoned objects. A watering hole conceals depths greater than its swimmers can fathom. Riddled with talismans and portents, saturated by shadows beneath trees and whispers behind doors, these 10 stories broaden the scope of folk tales as we know them. Inspired by our native landscapes and traversing boundaries of the past and future, this collection is Tom Cox's first foray into fiction. Funny, strange, and poignant, it elicits the unexpected and unseen to raise our hackles and set imaginations whirring. So I didn't mention that it takes place in the UK. All the stories pretty much take place over there. And I'm assuming that the author is from there, probably. It's published by Unbound, which is a crowdfunding publisher. So it has all of the names of all the people that contributed to this book in the back of the book, which is really cool. And yeah, I just thought it was such a interesting and engaging read. I would highly recommend. I will say none of the stories really have any resolution. So if you're the kind of person that's like, but what happened? Maybe don't read this book, because it's definitely all about atmosphere and not about figuring out what any of the weird situations are or how they're being caused. So just go into it knowing that. But besides that, it's a really good read. I definitely recommend. For that book, I chose, it's not actually a tea, but it is Cauldron Spice. And this is from Gnat and Bee, which is another shop that I buy a ton of tea from. Actually, all of these today are either from the Wild Soma or Gnat and Bee, I think. And you can see it's very cute. It has a little cauldron on there. And this is a mulling spice blend. You can use it in cider, wine. You could even put this in like a black tea if you wanted a little bit of extra spiciness. I don't know why this one just really stuck out to me for this. I think it's because it has all of those really good warm fall spices in it, and you can put it in wine, which I don't know why I feel like this is like, if you're having your glass of wine in the evening and you just want to read one of these little spooky stories. I just feel like it's a vibe. I had a lot of teas that were more obviously Halloween or fall themed, I guess, but I don't know. I just really felt like this one spoke to me. So that's what I'm pairing with this book. Next we have another witch-related book. This one is called Initiated, is the main title. Memoir of a Witch, and it's by Amanda Yates Garcia. Okay, so this is written, I almost said written by a real person. They're all written by a real person. This is about a story about someone's life and about her journey into witchhood. So I really love pretty much anything to do with witches, including real life witches. So this is a memoir from a person who talks about sort of her journey as a woman and as a witch. And I love those kinds of books. This book is an alchemical mixture of memoir, mythology, manifesto, theory, visions, and dreams. As in dreams, sometimes it was necessary to bend time, make grand leaps between events. I had to keep some stories in my book of shadows to be told another time. Sometimes mythological figures that may be familiar to you surface here in unorthodox forms. All this is to be expected in a book written by a witch. As unconventional, unorthodox, and alchemical as these stories may be, they are also true. Some of this is definitely a tough read. She had a lot of hardships in her life, and probably I would put a content warning on this for sexual assault, abuse, kind of everything in that area. There's also drug use, there's sex work in it. There are just, I think, a lot of things that could be triggering for people that maybe have been through some of these same experiences. That being said, it's a really great read. Whether or not you're into witches, witch stuff, hashtag witch stuff, which I am, but even if you're not, this is just a really powerful life story, coming of age story of womanhood, and also familial relations with her mother, and it's just a very powerful book, and I definitely recommend. For this one, the tea that I chose is called Full Moon. And this one is also from Gnat and Bee, a nourishing tea for women's cycles, pregnancy, and postpartum. It has red raspberry leaf, nettle, lemon balm, oat straw, rosehip, hibiscus, and ginger root. And I just felt like that was really symbolic of her journey as a woman in the book, going through the cycles of her life a little bit. And also it's called Full Moon, which definitely has a witchy vibe, so I just felt like that one went really well. And I do believe the ones from Gnat and Bee, I don't know about the cauldron spices, but I think most of the ones from Gnat and Bee you can still get in her shop right now, so I will definitely link that below. Okay, so this one was given to me by my BFF Rachel, who She and I have a lot of things in common, and she knows me very well. So she gave me this book, In the House in the Dark of the Woods. And oh my gosh, that cover is just gorgeous. It's so, and it's definitely like a smallish book. It's a fairly quick read, but it is also a powerful one. The author of this book really knows how to build dread. I think throughout this pretty much the whole book, you sort of have a feeling that things are horribly wrong, but you don't really know what or why. And you're just waiting to get to the end to sort of find out what happens and who all of these characters really are. An illusion factor, like things are not really what they seem. The writing is really good. I just cannot recommend this enough if you're looking for a fairly quick but spooky read. In this magical and frightening tale of colonial America, nothing is quite as it seems. A wife gone missing may in fact have fled her stifling and abusive home. The inviting splendor of new American wilderness may in fact be an orchestration by a malevolent force. Women who lack both voice and sovereignty may seek freedom at the price of damnation. Set against the eerie, dangerous world of bygone New England, In the House in the Dark of the Woods is a historical encounter unlike any you've read, and a novel you'll not soon forget. So, I mean, come on. You want to read that, right? It has historical elements combined with fantasy elements. This woman she doesn't run away. She gets lost, but then kind of you learn that maybe things aren't great at home. And then she meets a couple of other women in the forest who seem nice. I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much because it's really good. Yeah, just read it. I think you should read it. Thank you, Rachel, for giving this to me. She actually gave this to me like last year for Christmas or something, but I just was saving it for spooky season, or maybe it was my birthday. I was just saving it for spooky season, and it's perfect book for that. So for this book, I didn't even have to try and decide because Dark Woods is the name of this tea. In the House in the Dark of the Woods, Dark Woods. I mean, there was no other option. So this one is also by the Wild Soma, back when it was altar and leaf. As you can see, I hoard teas, especially when I am worried that I won't be able to rebuy the same tea. I just save it and drink it a little bit at a time, so it lasts a really long time. Tea kind of, eventually loses some flavor, but it doesn't really go bad. So this one, I mean, look at the label. It's gorgeous. It even has the little pop of red in it, which goes with the book perfectly. So the ingredients in this one are rooibos, chaga mushrooms, proprietary spice blend, secret spices, hawthorn berries, cocoa nibs, cedar leaf tips, juniper berries, and rosemary. You can see the woods forest element really comes in. There's a lot of tree bits in there. If you watch my candle video from Odin's daughter, Tree Smells, this is tree bits. Full bits of tree in here. That's what makes it good. It has chaga mushrooms, which is like a really earthy flavor. It has hawthorn berries, which you could also get into the symbolism of some of these herbs and plant ingredients and what they mean kind of in a witchy or magical sense and how that relates to the book. I won't really go all the way into that, but there's definitely some connections here that if you're into that kind of thing, you can see. She does change her teas and what she, like I said, has different ones for different seasons. So you might not be able to buy these particular ones right now, but just keep an eye out. Okay, last but not least, this book I actually found at one of our local bookstores, Dudley's. It's really cute. And Haunted. We'll get into that maybe another time. But anyway, I was just browsing and this one just jumped out to me. The cover is very arresting. I don't know, the colors or something just really appealed to me. And the title, basically anything with the word Gothic in it stands out. And Mexican Gothic, I thought that was really interesting. Like, what could that be? So I picked this one up. I thought it was really good. It's really got Crimson Peak vibes, but also adding to sort of the spooky fantasy horror element, there's also kind of a racism oppression element, which makes it even more horrific because those are real things and, ghosts and whatever. it's not really ghosts. I don't want to spoil it too much. Anyway, yeah, so there's like a whole element about like eugenics and sort of racism. It takes place in Mexico, but the main family is descended from England, but the main character, the main girl in it is Mexican. And it is spooky, atmospheric. You don't really know what's going on. It's kind of one of those ones that are like, is all of this real? Is it not real? What is causing all of the everything is kind of a twist at the end, so I don't want to spoil too much, but I would definitely recommend it. I thought it was so good. And I would say of all of these, this is easily like the spookiest, scariest one, but not too scary. It was just haunted house feel. Something's going on. Let me just read this. After receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin, Noemi, I think I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Noemi, it has like a little accent on the I, which I'm not sure what that means in terms of how I should be pronouncing it. Noemi Taboada heads to High Place, which is the name of the house, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. Noemi is an unlikely rescuer. She's a glamorous debutante, more suited for cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing. But she's also tough, smart, and not afraid. Not of her cousin's new English husband, a stranger who is both menacing and alluring. Not of his father, the ancient patriarch who seems fascinated by Noemi, and not even of the house itself, which begins to invade Noemi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. Noemi's only ally in this inhospitable place is the family's youngest son, but he too may be hiding a dark secret. As Noemi begins to unearth stories of violence and madness, she is slowly drawn into a terrifying yet seductive world, a world that may be impossible to escape. Whew, girl, she is. This is by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Yeah, I recommend it. Once again, there's a few trigger warnings, especially, like I said, there's stuff about, the family. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, but like the patriarch of the family is like into eugenics and perpetuating his bloodline. I'm worried that I'm going to like give too much away. So we're just going to end it there in the description. This one's probably the one I will be most likely to reread again next spooky season if I just want to feel those spooky vibes. It also is really good for creating an atmosphere. I don't know if you like to do that when you read books, but sometimes I like to set up the vibe of the room to match the book. So I'll put on, maybe I'll even do a video about that because this one especially I have a whole thing for. But you can put on like an ambiance on YouTube and burn a certain candle or, have certain type of lighting or whatever the things are that you think evoke the story. I love to do that. So this one is especially good for that. The author, in fact, I think if you just search Mexican Gothic on Spotify, the author has created a playlist, a Spotify playlist that I guess she feels evokes the book in a way. So if you want, you can put that on while you read it, which is cool. This one is also a no-brainer. Another one from the Wild Soma. This one is called Queen of Ghosts, which if you read this, you'll understand why that's a no-brainer. I feel like it even has kind of a similar color vibe. There's kind of these bluish purple flowers and yeah. So Queen of Ghosts, the name goes really well with the book. Let me read to you what's in it. Okay, so this one has Yunnan gold leaf tea, carob, cocoa nibs, cinnamon chips, cardamom, slivers of coconut, vanilla essence, and cornflower petals. Once again, the flavors on this I think go really well with the story. It's kind of got a lot of those warming spices, but also I feel like the coconut kind of throws in that extra twist, kind of like the extra twist of this is sort of a traditional Gothic haunted house story, but it takes place in Mexico, which, I don't know, I just felt like they went really well together. And yeah, it's just so pretty. I think that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this format. I really love talking about books and tea, especially tea I could talk about all day. So if you thought this was fun, let me know down in the comments. I will probably definitely do more of these, especially if people are enjoying it. If you ever need recommendations for tea, certainly hit me up because I have a lot. And if you have any teas that you love or tea makers that you love, please put that in the comments because I am always looking for new tea to drink. Also, if you have any books, I probably am going to be doing for November, if I do another one of these, sort of a dark academia theme, because I'm reading a couple of those right now and maybe getting kind of into cozy a little bit, but we might save that more for December. So if you have any book suggestions, please let me know, especially if they are in sort of the dark academia vibe. I can't remember who said it. I want to say it was maybe Desi on her channel said that she really loved reading dark academia books in November. And I agree that I feel like this season, because it's getting dark, but you're not quite to like the holiday season yet, kind of still on the tail of, spooky season. And a lot of dark academia books, at least the ones that I've been reading, are sort of like a mystery or something is going on. So yeah, I think that will be my next one of these Stories and Steeps. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know what you thought. Did you have a favorite tea? Or do you think you want to try any of these? Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you have any cute tea wear that you would suggest? Basically anything to do with tea. Tell me about it. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe if you want to see more of these Stories and Steeps videos in the future. And you can find me and probably a lot of tea content in my Instagram stories over on Instagram at Buccaneers and Ball Gowns. I will put the link for that down below. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.